Most people think that saving money is just about the numbers in a bank account. They think it's about being able to buy a nicer car or finally taking that vacation they've been dreaming about. But there is a very specific, almost magical threshold that changes everything. It's the moment you cross the five-figure mark, the moment you hit $10,000. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. $10,000 in this economy? That's not even a down payment on a house. It's not enough to retire. It's not even enough to buy a brand new mid-sized sedan. And you're right. In the grand scheme of wealth, $10,000 is a drop in the bucket. But in the world of psychology and personal momentum, it is the absolute turning point between someone who is surviving and someone who is starting to win. Think about your life right now. If you're like most people, an unexpected $400 emergency would send your world into a tailspin. You'd be reaching for a credit card, wondering which bill you can skip this month, and feeling that familiar, crushing weight in your chest. But imagine a world where that doesn't happen. Imagine a world where your car breaks down, and instead of a panic attack, you just feel a slight annoyance because you have to spend an hour at the mechanic. That shift from panic to annoyance is the first thing that happens when you hit $10,000. Welcome to Alex Talks Finance. Today, we aren't just talking about math. We're talking about the invisible transformation that happens to your brain, your confidence, and your future the moment you secure that first $10,000. Because once you hit this milestone, the rules of the game change forever. The hardest part of any journey is the first step. But in finance, the first $10,000 is more like trying to push a boulder up a mountain made of ice. It's heavy, it's slippery, and every time you stop pushing, it feels like you're sliding backward. This is what I call the gravity of zero. When you have nothing saved, every dollar you earn is spoken for. Rent, food, insurance, debt. You are essentially working for everyone else except yourself. You are a pass-through entity for your paycheck. When you start saving that first $1,000, then the second, then the third, it feels like it's taking forever. You're making sacrifices. You're saying no to dinner with friends. You're driving the older car. You're feeling the pain of saving without seeing the gain of wealth. But something happens around the $5,000 mark. You start to see a cushion. And by the time you hit $10,000, the gravity of zero starts to lose its grip. Suddenly, you aren't just saving to survive, you're saving to build. This is the moment your mindset shifts from scarcity to abundance. When you have $0, your brain is in constant survival mode. You make short-term decisions because you have to. You take the high-interest loan because you need the car today. You stay at the job you hate because you can't afford to miss a single week of pay. Scarcity makes you a prisoner of the present.
But $10,000 is freedom light. It's not enough to quit your job forever, but it's enough to say no. It's enough to tell a toxic boss that you won't be disrespected. It's enough to walk away from a bad deal. This is the quiet confidence that starts to radiate from you. You carry yourself differently when you know that no matter what happens today, you are okay for the next 3, 4, or even 6 months. Now let's talk about the math, because this is where it gets really exciting. There's a concept in finance called the law of the first 10,000. Most people struggle to save because they don't see the progress. If you have $100 and it earns 7% interest, you made $7. Big deal. That doesn't even buy a burrito. It feels pointless. But when you have $10,000, that same 7% is $700. Now, $700 isn't life-changing, but it's real. It's a car payment. It's a flight. It's a new piece of furniture. For the first time, you are seeing your money do the work for you. You are no longer the only one in the relationship putting in the effort. Your money has finally checked into the office and started its first shift. And here is the secret that the wealthy won't tell you. The second $10,000 is significantly easier than the first. Why? Because you've already built the muscles. You've developed the habits. You've learned how to live on less than you make. But more importantly, you've proven to yourself that it's possible. The psychological barrier has been shattered. You are no longer someone who struggles with money. You are someone who accumulates wealth. Think about the invisible benefits that come with this milestone. Your credit score usually starts to climb because you aren't maxing out cards. Your stress levels drop, which improves your health and your relationships. You stop fighting with your partner about the electric bill because the electric bill is no longer a threat. You start looking at the world through a different lens. Instead of looking at a new product and thinking, can I afford the monthly payment? You start looking at it and thinking, is this worth the hours of my life I spent earning the money to buy it? Now I want you to imagine a scenario. Let's call him Mark. Mark has $0 in savings. One Tuesday morning, his refrigerator dies. Mark panics. He has to put a new fridge on a credit card at 24% interest. Now he's not just paying for a fridge, he's paying for a fridge plus interest for the next 2 years. He feels behind, he feels stressed, and he works overtime just to break even. Now look at Sarah. Sarah has $10,000 in a high-yield savings account. Her fridge dies on the same Tuesday. She's annoyed because she has to spend a Saturday shopping for appliances. She buys the fridge in cash. She might even get a discount for paying up front. She doesn't owe anyone a dime. Her life continues as normal. The difference between Mark and Sarah isn't just the fridge, it's the cost of being poor. It is expensive to be broke. You pay more for credit, you pay more for insurance, you pay more in late fees, and you pay more in stress-related health issues. $10,000 is the buy-in fee to escape the cycle of being charged for not having money.
But there's an even bigger shift that happens, and this one is my favorite. It's the shift in your risk tolerance. When you have a safety net, you can afford to take calculated risks that can actually change your life. Maybe it's taking a lower-paying job at a startup that has massive upside. Maybe it's finally starting that side business you've been thinking about. Maybe it's investing in a course to learn a new skill. When you have $0, taking a risk feels like jumping off a cliff without a parachute. When you have $10,000, it feels like jumping off a diving board into a pool. It's a leap, sure, but you know you're going to land safely. This is where the momentum really starts to kick in. You start to realize that money is a tool, not a goal. You stop being afraid of it and start being curious about it. You start reading about index funds, Roth IRAs, and real estate. You start to understand that the gap between $10,000 and $100,000 is actually smaller than the gap between 0 and $10,000. Why? Because the first $10,000 required a total identity shift. It required you to change who you are. The next $90,000 just requires you to keep being that person. I want you to take a deep breath and really think about what your life would look like if you had $10,000 sitting in an account right now, completely untouched, no debt attached to it, just yours. How would you sleep tonight? How would you talk to your boss tomorrow? How would you feel when you walked through a store? That feeling is called peace of mind, and it is the most valuable thing money can buy. It's better than a Rolex. It's better than a Tesla. It's the feeling of being in control of your own destiny. If you aren't there yet, I want you to know that it is possible. It's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. It starts with the first 100, then the first 1,000. It's a slow burn until it becomes a wildfire. Don't look at the mountain and get discouraged. Just look at the next step. Because once you hit that $10,000 mark, the world looks different. The glass wall between you and the wealthy starts to crack. You realize that they aren't smarter than you. They just started their momentum earlier. You realize that you belong in the room. Saving your first $10,000 isn't just a financial achievement. It's a declaration of independence. It's you telling the world that you are no longer a victim of circumstance, but a master of your future. It changes your brain, it changes your options, and it changes your life. So my question for you is this: what is the one thing you can do today to start pushing that boulder? What is the one expense you can cut or the one extra hour you can work to get yourself closer to that 5-figure mark? Because I promise you, once you get there, you'll never want to go back. Everything changes after 10,000. The only thing left to do is get there. I'm Alex, and this is Alex Talks Finance. If this resonated with you, keep pushing. The momentum is coming. I'll see you in the next one.